All right, let's talk about something kind of wild. What makes a band a band? I mean, is it the people, the music they play, or is it something else? We're going to dive into that very question today by looking at the totally bizarre and fascinating story of Soft Machine. This is a group that's been around for over 50 years, but there's a twist here that really makes you rethink what a band even is. So here's the big question, the paradox at the heart of it all. Can a band actually exist for more than 50 years and have zero, literally none of its original members? It sounds like one of those philosophical thought experiments, right? But for Soft Machine, it's just reality. They've been around since 1966, but the version of the band you can go see right now has no one from the start. So how on earth does that even work? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, let's just ground ourselves for a second. Take a look at this photo. This is the 1970 lineup, which a lot of fans would tell you is the classic, pivotal version of the band. You've got Elton Dean on sax, Mike Ratledge on keyboards, the incredible Robert Wyatt on drums, and Hugh Hopper on bass. Go ahead, take a good look at these guys, because for many, this is Soft Machine at the absolute peak of their powers.
Now, okay, fast forward to today. The lineup looks a little different. A lot different, actually. We've got John Etheridge, Theo Travis, Fred Thelonious Baker, and a soft circus. You'll notice not a single name from that last photo is here, not one founding member. So what happened? How does a band stop being a group of people and start becoming, well, more like an idea, something that just keeps going even when the original creators are long gone? Okay, let's start with part one, a constantly changing machine. And that title is no exaggeration. The story of this band is just one of constant, relentless change. And we're not just talking about members swapping in and out. No, their entire sound, the very soul of their music, which is completely transformed, sometimes radically, from one album to the next. So to really get where they came from, you've got to understand this thing called the Canterbury scene. Now, this wasn't some organized club or anything. It was more like this loose-knit group of musicians, a vibe, really. They all came from around the city of Canterbury, and they all shared this love for weird harmonies, crazy improvisation, and just a very particular kind of English quirkiness. And Soft Machine? Yeah, they were right smack in the middle of it all. Which brings us to part two, their Canterbury psychedelic origins. See, this is the thing. The band that everyone knows as these super complex jazz rock wizards, they didn't start out like that at all. Nope. Their roots were planted deep in the psychedelic boom of the mid-60s. And man, their resume right from the start was just incredible. I mean, check this out. They came out of another really important Canterbury band called the Wildflowers. Then, by '67, they're the house band at London's famous UFO Club, playing right alongside Pink Floyd. And then a year later, just touring North America with the Jimi Hendrix Experience. This was no garage band. These guys were at the absolute bleeding edge from the get-go. Okay, part three, the jazz rock transformation. Because, yeah, that psychedelic sound, it wasn't going to stick around. The band was about to pull off one of the most drastic musical U-turns in the history of rock music, and it was a move that would totally define everything they became. And by 1971, you can see their new direction was totally working. They were headlining big venues all over Europe, not as some pop group, but as serious, heavy-hitting instrumentalists. This ticket here, from a show in West Berlin, shows them on the bill with bands like Yes. But even then, Soft Machine's music was already way out there, pushing into this really abstract, jazzy territory that was all their own. I mean, look at this comparison. The change was just night and day. They went from making these quirky, psychedelic pop songs with vocals to these sprawling, epic, purely instrumental jazz rock suites. Simple pop song structures? Gone. Replaced by super complex, totally free-flowing improv. This wasn't some slow, gradual change. It was a full-blown musical revolution. And you can hear this whole transformation happen on two absolutely essential albums. First, there's Third from 1970. This thing was their masterpiece, a huge double album where each of the four sides was just one continuous piece of music. Insane, right? And it became their biggest seller. Then the album Fourth took that final leap, getting rid of vocals completely and just diving headfirst into pure instrumental jazz fusion. And this was the moment that really sealed the deal. Robert Wyatt, the founding drummer and vocalist whose voice was such a huge part of their early sound, he was fired. The classic musical differences. And with him went the last traces of the band's pop song lyrical past. It was gone for good.
The machine had officially been rebuilt from the ground up. All right, part 4, legacy, spin-offs, and reunions. And if you thought the story was complicated so far, buckle up, because after this main period, things get even crazier. The lineup changes started happening faster and faster, and the whole concept of soft machine started to split apart into all these different projects. And here it is, the moment the last connection to the original band was finally severed. By 1976, keyboardist Mike Ratledge, the very last founding member, was gone. Now, the band kept going for a couple more years, but it was without any of the people who actually started it. The name was pretty much all that was left of the original group. But the music, the spirit of the band, it just wouldn't die. It's like the idea of soft machine was passed on like a torch. So when the original band finally called it quits, you had ex-members forming a new group called Soft Heap. A while later, you get another one, Softworks, and then finally Soft Machine Legacy, a band that was literally created to carry the torch and keep the music alive with a whole crew of former members. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. Over 30 official members over the years. That's not really a band, is it? It's more like a musical institution with this constantly revolving door. And some amazing talent came through that door. Get this, even Andy Summers, who would later become the guitarist for the Police, was in the band for a little bit back in 1968. Wild. So what was driving all this constant change? Well, this quote from bassist Hugh Hopper really gets to the heart of it. He said they weren't trying to play jazz rock on purpose. It was much simpler than that. They just didn't want to sound like anybody else. That was it. The whole motivation was just to be completely, totally unique. And that brings us to our final section, Part 5, the machine reboots. We're coming up to the modern day now. After all those decades of spin-offs and legacy groups, the machine actually officially rebooted. It kind of brings the whole story full circle. So check this out. In 2015, the guys in Soft Machine Legacy did something pretty bold. They just dropped the legacy part. Boom. They were officially just Soft Machine again. And they weren't just playing old songs. They've put out new studio albums and they tour all the time. They are a living, breathing band, a direct continuation of that spark from all the way back in 1966. And this, right here, is why the whole story is so important. Look, they were never a huge chart-topping commercial success, but their influence, it's undeniable. As Dave Lunch from AllMusic says, they were one of the most influential underground bands of their era. They were pioneering sounds that you can still hear echoing through prog rock and jazz today. So we end up right back where we started. After all of the lineup changes, the spin-offs, the reboots, what is Soft Machine? Is it a band? Or is it more of an idea? Is it defined by the people who started it? Or is it defined by this restless commitment to always changing, always innovating, an idea that can be handed down from one musician to the next? The incredible story of this band really makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, the idea is what really matters most. What do you think?